My name is Janet Stark, and I am part of the program team and on the board for Open Circle. And this morning, we are going to join in a practice together. We believe at Open Circle that practicing, sharing these practices together is a really important part of discovering really that all of life practice. And this morning, we have the privilege of having Cliff join us. Really bright and early since he's in New Mexico. And he is a member of the Center for Action and Contemplation's program design team. Cliff has 40 plus years of experience as a musician, a drummer and percussionist. He's a DJ and music educator. And he has focused his work on cultural expressions of collective joy and their power to transform. Cliff combines his interest in diverse music and contemplative practice with a passion for building compassionate community. Cliff, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Welcome.
Thank you, Janet. Excuse me, it's good to be here with you all today. I want to begin by thanking Matt for his kind invitation. And I hope you all enjoy this practice. That I also want to acknowledge my ancestors, teachers, and fellow travelers who helped me learn practices like this and who have shared teachings with me so that I can share with you today. I love Abby's story with me today, where I say I'm glad we went there because the practice we're going to do will require us to use our imagination some. So I'm glad that we got that teased out a little bit as we start here this morning. So where is this practice from? It's actually a practice that I remixed, but I will explain that to you a little bit, what I mean. I recently heard a movement activists begin to think and talk about our contemplative solidarity and our movements in the way our indigenous siblings thought, who consider time in terms of 7 generations forward and back. So we need to communicate more in terms of past, present, and future. Just imagine now if we did that more often. We usually talk about now or a near future, but imagine if we thought more in terms of 7 generations forward, 7 generations back. This practice is one example of a contemplative way to explore this perspective, and that will hopefully help us to access that in our bodies. So the remix that I was talking about is using Resmaa Menakem's orienting practice. Resmaa Menakem is the author of My Grandmother's Hands. If you haven't read it, I hope you can find and read that book. But we are going to remix Resmaa's practice and engage a practice of past, present, and future, considering our lineage and our contribution. Taking what you can of this practice and be gentle with yourself during it, going only so far today as you're able to go. But I invite you to stretch yourself and respect your boundaries. So, we begin. I'll ring a bell and then we'll start. And if possible, I invite you to stand for this practice. You won't need to look at the screen, only to hear my voice. You'll be standing for about 12 to 13 minutes. So if that's not comfortable for you, it's okay to sit. So first, a brief overview of the practice. We're going to stand, and while standing, we're going to do something called orienting. Orienting is something that all of our animal relatives two-legged, four-legged, winged. They do some version of that. In our human communities, we've been socialized not to do too much of it, not to look around. We're going to look around today. And the looking around is going to be representative of something imaginal, but also something real. So if you're standing, feel your feet on the ground. And imagine that you're rooted to the earth. I want you to feel the weight of your body. You know, if you were on a space shuttle or something outside the Earth's atmosphere, you would not feel this weight of your body. And part of what you're feeling is what science calls gravity. But I'd like for you just for a few moments, not to think of it in that scientific, mysterious way that not many of us understand what those words mean. But I invite you to think of that feeling of the weight of your body as the hug of the earth holding you in this moment to the earth instead of you flying off into space. The earth is hugging you and holding you to it. Feel your head supported by being gently pulled upward. Your knees are relaxed. Throughout this time, if you are standing, do not lock your knees. And now scan your body with the intention to allow as many muscles to be relaxed as possible. Just take some time to do that in your own time. And now, since we're all muted, I'm going to ask you to do something to feel the vibration in your body. I'm going to ask you to hum 3 hums on the out breath of your next 3 breaths. They can be whatever tone you want, but just hum and feel that vibration of the humming in your body. You can do that beginning now. Humming, singing, producing sound that vibrates as tones in your throat helps to relax the vagus nerve and settle your body. So, at this time, I'd like to invite you to consider your past lineage. You can begin that exploration with the lineage that you're most familiar with, your parents, perhaps your grandparents. But just even thinking about that lineage, just notice what it feels like in your body to consider this, to consider your biophysical lineage. If you like, you can also consider the ancestors whose work you are connected with as inspiration. But start to bring to mind that feeling and that sense of what I'm doing right now is considering my lineage. And now I'd like to ask you to physically turn around while you're standing and face behind you. If you're seated, you can do this next part by merely turning your waist as much as possible to look behind you, but making sure you're spending time looking in both directions behind you. Now, as you're turned away from the screen, or what we would think of as the front, you're facing the past. You're facing your ancestral past. Imagine some connectivity back into that past, in whatever timeline makes sense to you. But what I'm inviting you to do right now is to go as far back as you can. Maybe that's 50 years. Maybe it's 100 years. Perhaps you find yourself going back 500 years. Keep going back until you find someone that you connect to in your lineage. Again, this could be someone biological, some great, 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 great grandfather or mother. Or it could be someone else, some other type of lineage. Perhaps this has been someone in a lineage that is not biological, but whoever it is, I want you to notice that it's someone who has been through something very challenging, a very challenging time, but survived it. And as you look at them, you notice, you can see this, you can almost see the story of the challenge that they've lived through on their face, in their body, that they've been through some very challenging time, but survived a pandemic or a war or some environmental catastrophe, forced migration. But this ancestor that you're facing made it through. Imagine their presence. Imagine them looking at you. See yourself looking at them. Silently communicate to them that you're aware that it was choices that they made to get through their challenges that allows you to be here today. You are literally here because of the resilience, courage, and strength of decisions this ancestor made. Silently look at them and connect. Resonate with them. Smile at them. Communicate your gratitude for their resilience with your eyes, with your face. Let your whole being reflect your appreciation. And now it's time to say goodbye to this ancestor. Before you leave, place your hands in together in prayer position over your heart and bow to your ancestor and thank them. Smile at them and begin to turn forward. Keeping a sense in your body as you turn and face forward again, that you know that your ancestor is back there, is at your back. And notice what your body feels like right now, knowing that your ancestor is at your back. Breathe into that feeling, whatever it is, whatever arises. Now close your eyes and consider two of the most important resources today that inform and grace your life. This could be a person. This could be a being from the more than human world. It could be a book you've read or a work of art, but something that contributes to making you feel more like yourself, more like when you are present with this resource, you are more like your best self. It could be something in nature, the ocean, sky, or tree. Something that helps you to feel safe and at home, knowing that you can get through a day of stress because you know this resource is present. Now I ask you to turn to your right and see one of the resources present right there. Physically turn your body to the right and look and smile, greeting this resource. Take a moment to explore the embodied connectivity with this resource. Notice what that relationship is like. Note the texture of the mystery of this resource. Note any feelings of gratitude that you have in your body for this resource. And now turn back to the center. And then turn to your left and see what is there. What resources appear to your left that informs and graces your life? Take a moment to explore your connectivity with this resource. Perhaps you originally thought of one resource that would be there and another one appears as you look. Receive the experience somatically in your body of this part of your team. Notice what is good, true, and beautiful about this connection that you have today, right now, with this resource. And now I'll turn back to the center. Just note how you feel. With your eyes closed, note the feeling of your ancestors behind you. And then feel the presence of your resource to your right and to your left. With you here now. And as you take the next few breaths, breathe in deeply, noticing what does it feel like to know that those connections are there. Note the harmony in the notes of the orchestra represented by each of those resources, supporting you from behind and to your sides. And allow yourself just a few more moments to sense this harmony. And now turning to face the front. With eyes closed, imagine yourself looking as far into the future as you are able to imagine. Could be a little or a lot. You can begin months from now, but just notice how far you can go. It could be into the lives of your great, 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 great grandchildren or some other ancestor in the future. It could be 100 or 500 years. It's up to you. And it's up to you whether it's a biological descendant or you find out seeing someone who, because of the choices and contributions that you made in your life, because of your resilience, care, and solidarity, were able to emerge as a being of resilience and love in the future. There's no way to know what this looks like, but you're being invited to use your imagination to connect with this being who exists because of choices that you've made and the resilience that you have cultivated. Feel the connectivity with this being in the future, in your body. Smile at it or them. And now come back to this moment. Note connectivity from behind and to the side. And to the front. And allow these connections to be looking at you. What your awareness of this evoke in your body? Allow yourself to feel whatever that connection. And finally, to get very physical about it, I'll end with noting that there's a microbiome in and on your body that consists of ins. That's 10 times more cells than your human cellular structure. These cell life, besides noting the outer, note what it is like to consider the other supports that you can be aware of and access when you need a little faith, a little bit of resilience, and when you need to connect to a larger story, a bigger story. And when I do, I ask you to bow to each and every one of us who were brave enough to attempt this practice today. And bowing virtually to each direction. And bowing to yourself. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.